So you have an offer that is fully baked and ready to launch into the world. And you and I both know like it can be challenging to sometimes get the word out on what you have to offer. And we also know that we cannot rely completely on social media. Social media is hit or miss, and trying to launch only to social media is never that successful. So we have to turn to our email list and the list of people that we have built over time. That is why we today are going to be talking about crafting a story based telling sales email sequence that will actually get your buyers or your clients to buy. So normally it's me that's rambling on and on to you. Most of my episodes to date have been solo episodes, but today we're doing things a little bit differently. I am bringing on a special guest that has an expertise in email copywriting and story based sales emails. So let me introduce our guest and then we will dive in. Joanne Homestead is an expert email copywriter, holistic copy coach, and obsessed storyteller. With over 15 years of experience creating captivating and aligned messaging as a master teacher, she helps soulful entrepreneurs and coaches in wellness, well-being, and mindset elevate their stories to connect, compel, and soulfully sold with integrity, email style. She's a mama of two little ones and loves a good cup of chai to fuel her creativity and passion for storytelling marketing. She's been featured on numerous podcasts, live episodes, and group trainings where she shares her expertise in brand storytelling, conversion copywriting, and how to get the most of your email marketing endeavors with intentionally curated email sequences. You can find her most active hiking and writing to her email community, Flourish, where she shares stories of all flavors. I'm so excited for you to be here today. When I met you and you and I both serve the wellness space, it was just like, yay, I have someone else that shares space. But I'm all about like collaborating and figuring out how can we create partnerships with different people in this industry to help educate wellness professionals on how they can craft, market, and sell their offers with ease. So that's why I wanted you to come on board. First, before we dive in, I wanted you to tell the audience a little bit about your background, like how you actually got into being an email copywriter.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for that lovely intro, Lori.
Mm-hmm.
And I am really excited to collaborate here with you to talk about all things email strategy, email storytelling, everything in the fantastic world of emails. That's really my happy place.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, how did I get into this? Because, there's no like 8-year-old out there going like, I'm going to be an email copywriter when I grow up. So I really did kind of stumble into it. So I was a teacher for 15 years and a literacy specialist and also a literacy coach and mentor for other teachers as well
Mm-hmm.
during the 15-year career as a teacher. And I love to say what I did as a teacher, what I loved doing as a teacher is what I love doing now. It's see a direct correlation. It's really
Mm-hmm.
the same thing. And for some people, like going from teacher to copywriter seems like, how did that happen? I do not come with a traditional business background or a traditional marketing background. I come from education, and a lot of what I was able to hone and learn in teaching was is what I do now. So how do you captivate your audience?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just imagine those 27 first graders in a classroom with you all day long, every day for the whole school year. How do you captivate them?
Mm-hmm.
Not just every day, but every hour of that day. How do you captivate them? That's where the storytelling comes in. That is where
Mm-hmm.
I loved being able to curate stories. What are the stories that are going to really help engage them
Mm-hmm.
and get them to that next step, which is, okay, what's the action I'm going to take? And I know we're going to get into storytelling in a little bit, so I won't
Yes.
I won't go too much into that. And then the other piece of the teaching was, okay, now how do I inspire these students to take action? not force them to
Mm-hmm.
take action, but really own their action to say, I understand how this fits into my life. I understand how this helps me get to my goals I'm getting to.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is why I'm going to take this action. And it's the same thing in email copywriting. Taking the stories and really building that relationship with your audience, building that trust, connecting with them emotionally. And then, okay, how do we inspire them to take action? How do we get them? It's not like you're talking to a brick wall,
Mm-hmm.
but really people are responding, engaging, they're clicking. You can see who's interested and how you can continue to engage with them. And so I stumbled into this when I first started my business and I started writing some email campaigns for clients because at the time I was doing all different tasks for them as a virtual
Mm-hmm.
assistant, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, I really love your writing. Could you try and write an email campaign for me? And I said, sure, why not? Let's try this.
Sure. Give it a
Sure,
try.
let's give it a try. And the first email campaign I wrote for my one of my first clients, she immediately forwarded me an email that she got from the email
That you sent out.
I created the email, she sent it out. She got a response back from someone immediately who said, "This is the best email ever."
Wow, that's
This is the
awesome.
best email ever. I love it. I'm gonna do the thing you're telling me to do, whatever it was, like tag you
Right.
on social
Yeah.
media. Once I get into my kit, all these things. That was the hook for me. I was like, ooh, that was such positive feedback for me. And so I started writing emails for some of my other clients as well. And it was the same reaction. They said, like, I write to my email list all the time. I never get a response. No one like personally writes back.
Mm-hmm.
You start writing and people are responding. They are taking their time and energy to actually write a message back to me to
And
say,
that is huge because we are all so busy. I mean, I can't even tell you like how many emails that I don't even open them. If the subject line does not grab my attention, I just delete, 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 delete because I just only have so much time.
right,
So the fact that you're getting people to not only open, but to engage, to click, and I think the ultimate action is to actually reply back and engage with you, that shows talent. And for me, like when I hear your story, I just think she just tapped into her gifts. She accidentally stumbled into her unique talents, and here we are.
yeah, it really was stumbling in, and I'm going, oh, okay. So yeah, I followed that thread, and this is where I'm at now because I absolutely love being able to help my clients build that bridge from them to their ideal clients. That's really what I
Right.
feel like we're doing is we're orchestrating our words to build that bridge from you to your ideal clients
Mm-hmm.
so that it builds the trust, you get the emotional connection,
Right.
and they want to take action, they want to respond, they want to say, wow, thanks for saying it that way, like I never thought of it that way before, you really helped me see it, or thank you for sharing that, I really needed to hear that today.
Right.
And they just get that clarity on like who you are, what you do, what you stand for, and how it is you can help them.
You're right. Awesome. So I know, like, your style may be similar or even the same, but maybe different. But I know that you very specifically focus on storytelling based emails.
Mhm.
Let's talk about why is storytelling? What does that look like? And like, why is storytelling like so important? Because I know myself, like when I'm writing social media content, I hear all the time, oh, you need to introduce a story. And I forget, I go into teacher mode and I immediately start trying to share value and education and then go, oh crap, I didn't really like share a story. So let's talk about like stories and why that is so important to integrate into your emails.
That is a great question. The first thing is, what is a story?
Right.
Let's start there.
Okay.
When you're talking about stories and emails, I like to say this is not War and Peace novel.
Okay.
You're not writing a lot of people think stories like it's gotta have the beginning, it's gotta have the middle, it's gotta have the end. It's like a book, it's like a novel.
Hmm.
And
The climax
I think
and
you gotta have the
the
climax,
hero and the villain and
the protagonist and the antagonist, and there's
exactly.
multiple subplots going on.
Right, right, right.
A lot of side quests. Like, when it comes to what I love about email and storytelling, I feel like it's just like it's the perfect combination because you can tell just the right size of a story in an email to captivate and engage,
Hmm.
but it's not getting too long.
Okay.
So, a story can be literally like 2 or 3 sentences, and that's
Hmm.
it. And then you just segue into what you would like to talk about in your business.
Okay.
Or it could be a couple paragraphs,
Hmm.
it just kinda depends, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a certain length. It can range from, like if you can tell a story in one sentence, I always say, like, that's, like, the big advanced like, if you can do that, that's amazing. So it doesn't have to be anything super long.
Hmm.
And it can be what I like to say is like I like to talk about like there's 7 types of stories you can tell. I won't get
Mm.
into it totally here, but my favorite kind of story is the everyday story. And these are the
Okay.
stories that happen to you every day that you can turn into your marketing content.
Hmm.
Like, for example, I tend to have wrestling matches with my bed sheet after they've been laundered. I don't know, they shrink in the laundry. And I'm trying to get it on my mattress. And I do the one corner and the other corner pops off. Try the other corner pops off. And it's just very frustrating. I'm just like sweating. I'm having a literal wrestling match with the
Uh-huh.
bed sheet. And I can connect it to my what I do, my business, which is like this is how it feels when you don't have a email strategy, you don't have a vision for your email community. You try one thing, the other corner pops off. You try this thing, that corner pops off, and it just feels like you're not really getting anywhere.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so those are the everyday stories, like going to the grocery store, talking to a friend, going for a walk with your dog. I have about a billion limitless stories about my kids and what they are up to and what they're doing. And so all of these are everyday stories that you can connect back to your
Hmm.
business. And so, a lot of my clients they harness those stories. You start collecting them, and then it's like you don't ever run out of something to say. You never not have a story. You
You
have a
know, that's
connection.
it's funny that you say that though, because sometimes it's funny because sometimes like my creativity is flowing and the stories just come. It's just like, oh my God, like here's a story and let me just connect that to a piece of content. Oh, here's a story. Let me connect that. And then other times, like I feel like my story well is completely dry.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, does that, it probably doesn't happen to you because you're like a master storyteller.
It's true. I don't generally run out of stories. I'm like, there is always a story. And it's like a lot of people think my stories are boring. It's not worth talking about. No one's gonna care, But if you are able to tell a good story, it doesn't matter what it is. You
Hmm.
could literally be talking about tying your shoe. People are gonna be captivated. And so yeah, I know that for some entrepreneurs, like they get that creative, they get those like waves of creativity, like what you're
Hmm.
talking about. And then they feel like a little bit of a dry season, which is totally fine. This is why like being able to collect these stories is
Hmm.
great because then when you have those creative flows, you can just like flow with it. And then those times where you're like, I just don't know what I want to
Right.
write about. I'm just not feeling very inspired. You can go to your collection of stories. And when I do that, I usually get inspired. I look through the list and I go, this is a good one. Or you can just, at those points, what I like to say is repurpose something. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not feeling inspired and you're really just like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling inspired right now, you can go back to your archive, like keep an archive of all your emails and stories and just repurpose one because you can repurpose a lot. I repurpose a lot of my emails. My clients repurpose their emails. You can send them in 3, 6 months again. And either people won't remember and they're like, that was so good. Or they'll say, I loved that story. And I'm so glad I'm hearing it again. Like I
Mm-hmm.
needed to hear it again.
So why stories? Like, why do we need to, tell stories in our emails versus just getting straight to the point and talking about what we want to talk about.
Yeah. So a lot of my clients, generally what they're doing is either they're using a bit of storytelling or they're really heavily based in like educating.
Right.
Those value emails. Everyone says like send a lot of give a lot of value, give a lot of value. So you're sending a lot of value emails, but they're not
Me,
getting any conversion.
guilty.
And they're not getting any conversion because basically what they're doing is they're teaching, they're educating, but they might be missing a few things. And this is where storytelling comes in. Storytelling, here are the different purposes for storytelling. Like one is building that emotional connection.
Right.
You can give out lots of educational teaching type content, but there might not be that emotional connection there. So they're
Right.
getting lots of value, they're learning a lot, but
Right.
without that emotional connection, people aren't going to buy. And
Yeah,
so
because everybody's sharing value.
everyone's sharing value. Google tons tons of educational content there. You can get educational content anywhere. So the storytelling is really bringing in that emotional connection there. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one big purpose of it. And so
Mm-hmm.
using the different types of storytelling will then allow your audience, your community to get to know you through the stories you're telling too,
Mm-hmm.
because I work with personal brands. And so that's one piece of it. Another piece is using storytelling for teaching,
Mm-hmm.
having the educational and teaching content, but using storytelling as like a analogy or a metaphor. It's also, I love when storytelling does that, but also infuses your personality. So they are the getting to know you through your stories. Like, oh yes, like Lori is all about, I don't know, like, ooh, what do you have? I'm looking at your background.
I'm building Lego sets. So
Okay.
I can totally like write stories about like the Lego sets and like how sometimes I'm like in such a flow and like all the pieces are snapping together easily and I'm just creating this beautiful thing and then all of a sudden like I hit like a block and I'm like, why won't this snap together? Every little piece that I try to snap together is creating resistance for me.
Mm,
And for me, that's when I know it's like you're tired. You're
mm,
tired. Stop. This is your sign to rest. Put the Legos away. No matter how intense you get on trying to build the product, put them away because you're not in flow right now. And
mm-hmm,
that happens in our business. We
mm-hmm.
get we get tired and then we get stuck. And when we take time to rest and energetically align ourselves, then we can be back in flow. So there would
Yeah,
be a
there we
story
go.
that I would tell based on
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, like Lori's talking about Legos again. Yes, that's like something that they are gonna connect with you. My son and you could get together and build Legos together. He's all into the Legos.
I raised two boys
A
and we built a lot of Legos.
lot
And
of like, yes,
I was looking for a hobby and I was like, what can I do that would be fun? And I'm like, I used to love to do Legos with the boys.
yeah, yeah.
So now I do more like adult type Lego sets.
I love that. Yes, I mostly think of Legos as the enemy of my feet. I'm like, oh my gosh, everything's on another piece of Lego.
Exactly. I can understand.
So yeah, that's building that emotional connection. They're getting to know you. You're building that trust there. And I also like to say storytelling is like making your marketing content from 2D to 3D. It's like
Mm.
the 3D picture books they have at the library now that my son loves to look at, and you open the page and it is an intricate, it's so intricate now, these 3D
Mm-hmm.
pop-up books. And that's how I imagine storytelling. It's taking your marketing content that's 2D, and when you weave in this storytelling, it's
Mm-hmm.
making it 3D. It immerses you into it. It's almost like you are,
It comes alive.
yeah, it really comes alive. And so this is what I love about storytelling. It also can, storytelling is great for shifting your perspective on things. This is what,
Mm-hmm.
when I first started out writing those emails, was getting a lot of feedback about. I've heard so many coaches talk about my liver in so many different ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
never really understood it until you said it this way with the story. And now
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate my liver, and now I understand why I want to take care of it. And this is how it has to do with hormone and gut biome, all that stuff. That's
Right.
not my expertise. My
Right.
expertise is
I get it. I
taking
get
that
it. Yeah.
and then putting a story onto it so people resonate with it and they get
Yes.
hooked into it, and then they have some buy-in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's suddenly a buy-in for them. Like, well, I get it. It's that aha moment. So that's what I love about storytelling.
Yeah, it reminds me of a social media post that I read yesterday that really used storytelling in an effective way and graphics. It showed a picture of a dead and dying plant, and the whole purpose of it was to say, this is what your brain feels like when you don't drink enough water.
Oh,
So,
that's a
it's
good
like
visual.
you can hear like you need to drink more water, you need to drink 64 ounces a day, you need your brain needs this for you need water for this, water, da 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 da. But when you say that, your brain looks like a dying dead plant when it's not getting enough water. You're like, geez, let me feed my brain with some water.
Yeah, it just hits totally differently. I love that. Yeah. It's just allowing a different perspective of like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I get that
I
now.
get that now.
I
Yeah,
get it.
exactly. So, okay, we got a good picture of like why storytelling is so important and how that makes emails like stand out and drives more action and emotional connection and everything.
Hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about, because we came into the call saying, we've got an offer, we're ready to launch it out into the world. We can't rely on social media. We need to hit our email list. And that's when a sales email sequence comes in. Let's talk specifically because, I don't know that everyone understands that there is a real framework to the types of emails that you send out in a sales email sequence. Let's talk through what some of those emails look like so people kind of understand. It's not just here's my offer, buy my stuff. It's not that. There's a real strategy to it, and I want to kind of talk through that a bit.
Yeah, the first thing that I want to say about having a sales launch email sequence is the prep before the sales launch email
Mhm.
sequence.
Mhm.
Before you, if you really want to have a more successful sales launch email sequence, you're going to want what I call is like a pre-launch
Mhm.
sequence. And this
Right.
pre-launch sequence is specifically to prime your email community for the sales launch sequence.
Right.
And so you're really in that part of it uncovering what's the increasing the awareness around the problem that they're having,
Mhm.
but also talking about like what are the root causes,
Mhm.
so they really understand like where is it stemming from, where are their problems stemming from, because
Mhm.
if they can understand where it's stemming from, then they're going to be able to know how to solve it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where you come in with your services and your offers is now this is how I can help you with that. And the sales launch email sequence is then inviting them into that offer specifically. So they're primed and warmed up. And
Yeah,
so,
so the pre-launch sales email sequence is not really telling them about your offer yet. It's more like warming them up and making them more aware of the problem that they have, bringing awareness, because some people, they might be aware, they might not be aware.
mhm.
But when you start relating to them and really calling out the problem with very specific, this is how you might be feeling kind of language, then it becomes more problem aware and they're more primed then to be open to your solution.
Yeah, yeah, they just may not be very clear on what exactly their problem is, or if they know
Mm-hmm.
their problem, they're not very clear on what the root causes are. And if you can get into that, then they're going to understand a lot better. And it's a great place to start building that anticipation up to the sales launch sequence. So
Mm-hmm.
start building that anticipation up of I'm so excited because I'm going to be launching XYZ offer soon. So you're building that anticipation up for them, and then
Mm-hmm.
you are sprinkling it, you're like weaving in your offer already without actually having to directly promote or sell at that point. And so that's how you're priming them to be ready for the sales launch sequence.
Okay. And so, what is that first email like? That first email when you first launch, what
Yeah.
does that look like?
So generally speaking, like if we go like big picture, bird
Mm-hmm.
eye view first,
Mm-hmm.
like people ask a lot of like how many emails to send in a sales launch
Right.
sequence. Like
Right.
you probably hear that a lot. I get that.
Yes.
Like how many emails to send? I'm like you could send as little or as many as you want,
Right.
literally. But what I like to say is like start with 8 emails.
Okay.
Because a sales launch email, and what I usually do is it's a 5-day launch period. So you're sending these emails out in a 5-day period.
Okay.
Even if you have like an evergreen offer, you can still have launch sequences in throughout the year as well with an evergreen. So start with 8 emails, and then you can work it up to 12 to 18 to 20 emails. Yeah, all sent in that 5 days. And you don't need to one, just like don't start panicking because you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of
People
emails.
I know well enough from talking to my own clients that they're like, oh my God, people are going to unsubscribe if I send that many emails.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the first fear that comes up, first panic
Right.
button. So what I say is that always have at the top of your email an opt-out option for the sequence. So you can just
Okay.
say, "Hey, I'm going to be sending a lot of emails this week about my program, and if you don't want to hear about it, just click here." And they can opt out of that sequence but still stay in your general like email community.
Great point.
And you just make it very easy for them to opt out at the very top. Like don't put it at the bottom. Just put it at the top every time. Just be very transparent. And if they're not ready, that's okay. They can opt out of that, just
Mm-hmm.
that particular sequence.
Okay.
So that is kind of like the bird's eye view. So for each, if I'm going to bring you through a journey of what types of emails you can
Mm-hmm.
send in your sales launch sequence. So the first one would be the open cart, and that's where you're kind of grabbing the attention of those people who are they're just like primed and ready. They're so excited. They're like, yeah, let's do this. So you're catching those people at the very beginning, like I
Mm-hmm.
have opened the cart. Again, you can use this for evergreen as well. And you're just bringing that excitement, and you may talk about a few of the benefits of
Mm-hmm.
your offer or program in that first email. Another email you can do is these are like the transformation or client story emails.
Mm-hmm.
And these ones I feel like you can't not have enough of. I just used a
Right.
double negative, which gets very confusing. Some of my clients have some reservations for sharing. Like they have the most amazing testimonials
Right.
and amazing transformations, and yet they're not sharing them. They're not
Mm-hmm.
really sharing them very much, and there's usually some kind of block around that of like I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, I don't want to sound annoying, like these are not, they don't consider them value emails. But what I like to say, I like to flip it and say like the client stories are actually your most valuable emails
Mm-hmm.
you're sending,
Right.
because the client stories, those transformation stories, does three things. One, it is a window, it's a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
It's reflecting back to your community to see themselves in these
Right.
client stories. It's a window. It's a window into seeing what kind of transformation they can get working with
Mm-hmm.
you.
Right.
And it's very tangible because you're going to be sharing these client stories in a very tangible way. And then the third is a door. It's really like an invitation for them to step through the door and work with you.
Right.
Client stories are so powerful, and they can really add that value to your email community. It's not, and it's really about sharing your clients' success stories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, that goes into the copywriting piece and the storytelling piece. Like if you're able to do it correctly,
Right.
then it doesn't sound like you got to work with me. I'm the best. This is all about me.
Right. Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
it's really about
It's
showing
about look
them.
at this person, what they did. I'm so proud
Yeah.
of them. Look at,
Yeah.
the transformation they had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're really celebrating. You're celebrating
Mm-hmm.
your clients, and so it's really about them. and how you've helped guide them.
Right.
Those are great emails to send in your sales launch email. Another one is a FAQ
Mm-hmm.
email, and this is great, especially closer to the end of your sales sequence, just
Mm-hmm.
because these are catching all the people who I use the bank personality codes and the are you familiar with the bank personality codes?
No, I don't think so.
Are you familiar with DISC?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
The bank personality code is similar to DISC. It's a personality code.
Okay.
And it's all about how buyers make their buying decisions based on their values.
Okay.
And I like it because it's very human first, human centered versus like numbers, sales centered.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the bank personality codes, the K, which is the knowledge, they just have to like know every single detail. So the FAQ is going to catch these people who are
Mm-hmm.
they are the ones who are coming with the 21
Questions,
questions.
right? Uh-huh. Things you don't even think about half the time.
Yeah, and that's how they find their safety. That's how they
Sure.
find their safety to then make that informed decision for themselves. So I have a FAQ page email. And so
And
these
I kind of think of when I think of FAQs, obviously there's standard questions that you want to ask that you know will come up, but do you find it helpful to maybe address common objections that you know that your audience is going to or might have, should I say?
Yeah, yes, definitely. FAQ is a great place to address any objections, but I would say like any of the emails that you write in your sales launch sequence, you can sprinkle in those
Objections.
addressing the objections in each one of those. It could just be one or two lines. It doesn't have to be anything super big. But another email type you can write is addressing an objection in
Right.
like if it's an objection that you feel like is a big one for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
your ideal clients coming in, make that into an email and you're just
Sure.
you're just going to talk about that
Right.
objection specifically. And so that's another great email. So thank you for bringing that one up. Another one is like your why. So I like talking a lot about like your origin, having your
Okay.
origin story and your welcome nurture sequence. And your
Mm-hmm.
sales launch sequence is a great place to have your why, your origin story of this offer that you have.
Mm-hmm.
People want to know why. They
Right.
want to really buy not from the what, but from the why. Why, how was this created? Why, yeah, like why do you have this offer? And when you can connect that to your story, then definitely the people in the again like the bank personality codes who are the nurturers who are into the
Mm-hmm.
relationships into the personal growth they value these community and all that
Yes.
stuff they're going to connect with that email
Mm-hmm.
when they know the why then they're going to most likely say like yes this resonates so much with me.
Right.
So that's another great email to write to. And that could also be like the UVP email, the unique value
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
proposition that you bring.
Right.
That
Mm-hmm.
could be part of that email, or that could be a separate email as well. Is like there are so many coaches or entrepreneurs doing what you're doing. What is your unique value proposition? And in that
Mm-hmm.
email, what I like to say is because some people are like, I don't know what my unique value proposition is. I'm like, it's just a combination of your offer, your experience, your expertise, your
How you
training.
deliver, your energy, your
Yeah,
personality, like everything,
everything. And
your
that's
values,
yeah,
all of it.
yeah, that's your unique value proposition. So what is it you really feel passionate in talking about in your offer?
Mm-hmm.
That's your UVP. That can also be an email as well. So we've covered quite a few. Okay.
Yeah, that is quite a few. And I think some of the other, kind of critical ones, but not as like important are obviously the more urgent ones at the end, where if you're doing an open cart style, open and closed cart style launch, then you can, do that, cart is closing, make sure you get in. There's also like, I don't know, do you do like a specific email like for bonuses or?
Mhm. Yeah, so you can do at the beginning if you want to have bonuses throughout the launch. like a early bird bonus, you can be mentioning that in the first few emails. If you have a mid cart bonus, you can mention those in the next few emails. And then if you have
Mm-hmm.
like a closing cart bonus, you can mention that in the last few emails. So yeah, bonuses can be sprinkled in throughout. Another email near the end is the value stack email.
Mm-hmm.
And so the value stack email is basically addressing all the different, basically all the features in your offer
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then the value of it. So they really see the value of the program or the offer.
Right.
Um, and so that I imagine that as like stacks of pancakes.
I like that.
The
That's
value stack is like you're just
good
stacking up the
analogy.
pancakes so they can really see the value. And throughout these emails, like a big mistake that's made is like talking about the what a lot, like talking about the features, talking about what.
Get coaching, and you get somatic healing, and you get breath work, and you get all of these different things. But it's like, what's the benefit of those features to
Yeah.
the client?
Yeah. So in each of every single one of these types of emails, you're going to want to talk about the benefits. You just talk about the benefits. I know you want to so badly talk about all the what and the features because you're excited about it and you create it in a way that you know is really going to get the results for your clients. But people aren't going to buy from the what, they're going to buy from the how. How is this going to benefit me? What is
Mm-hmm.
my life going to look like?
Right. Right.
And that is what they're really looking for. And then that doesn't mean you can't talk about the features. Like you can still talk about it, but make sure you connect it back to the benefits.
Right. So you recommend 5 day, a 5 day launch period, like a Monday through Friday, or
Yeah, like a Monday through Friday. I mean, you can create it however you want, but yeah, usually Monday through Friday. Have like two if you're doing 8 emails. Let's do a little math here. Like 2 emails per day, and the last day you have some extra. Some of the emails at the end are just like reminder. Send that last minute email.
right?
Even if you feel like I have sent so many emails,
Because
there are
there's
so
procrastinators.
there's so many last minute buyers. I am one of them. I will wait till the last minute, and I really appreciate those last couple emails at the very end because those are the ones that prompt me like, okay, it's time. It's time to take some action.
Get off my behind and do something if this is what I want, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I know a lot of people are like, I've sent so many emails. I don't know. Do I really need to send another email at the end, last minute? Yes, I'm gonna say yes. Send it because there's gonna be a lot of last minute people who one appreciate it and two will take that action in that last email.
So I have a question about that. Let's say, okay, we're talking about, and hopefully, people listening to this at least know some basics about like launching, and open and cart close and all of that. And when we've been talking about an evergreen offer, which for those that may not know what that is, an evergreen offer is basically an offer that's available year round. It's not like taken off the market and only available during launch period, and then it's shut down and not available again until you launch. How do you feel is the best way to handle an evergreen offer in terms of like building that urgency at the end?
Hmm. That is a great question. I am all about building like ethical urgency,
Okay.
building urgency that like people need that urgency to get them to take that action.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just want to do it in a way that's not it's not like building up this like frenetic urgency and then they end up with
Mm-hmm.
like buyer's remorse. Like that is not what we want.
Right. Right.
And so a piece of that is having bonuses, like
Okay.
bonuses
These
that
bonuses are only available during this launch period, or maybe even this discount is only available during this launch period, and then those are no longer available.
yeah, yeah, doing
Okay.
bonuses or having some kind of discount or having some yeah, like some kind of like extras in there
Mm-hmm.
that people who have been on the fence see the bonuses and are like, okay, this is like the motivator for me to really this is my time to
Right.
really jump in and join at this point. So I think those are great ways to build that like ethical urgency to get
Yeah,
people to
I like
connect.
that term, ethical urgency, because I'm not a I'm all about natural sales and heart-centered sales.
Mhm.
And like if someone's not ready, like no, that's the last person that you want in your offer because they're not going to follow through. You want people who are invested and truly want the transformation.
Yeah, and that just reminded me like another one last email you can send is just like an appreciation email of thank you for joining me in this journey this week.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay,
know, if this is not the right time for you, that is okay.
I like that.
Yeah, and you can even give a little like if you don't mind giving me some feedback on why you are joining or why you're not joining at this time, you can have a little link to go to it. So
To
you
do
can
a little survey or something.
yeah, gather a
I
little
like that.
data. Yeah.
Very cool. This has been so informative. I think we've given like tons for people to digest. And
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it's a lot.
yeah, exactly. Any like before we close, like any like further last points that you want to make or further last words of advice that you want to share, or maybe a story that you want to share?
I think that when it comes because we were just talking about the sales launch
Huh?
sequence, it may feel like you're just saying like buy, 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 like buy now, you know.
Right.
And so storytelling, okay, I'm gonna wrap it back up
Okay.
with the storytelling. You can use storytelling in your sales launch sequence as well. Like you can still use like everyday storytelling
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
your sales launch sequence. And this is really helping to keep the momentum going, but keep it fresh, keep it interesting. So it's not just like feeling like it's not like that pushy kind of sales. It's just
Right.
you're showing up with boldness, you're inviting people in, you're excited, and you're still connecting with people through storytelling, which
Right.
if it's not the right time for them, they still want to join the journey because of the storytelling.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, just because that's enough to keep them entertained and engaged.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the piece that I really love digging into for people, for my clients is like what kind of stories can you tell and how can you tell it
Hmm.
well?
Right. How can you tell it well?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, what does the process look like if someone is like interested in like working with you to have you like write their email sequence?
So I have a 7-step stories framework.
Okay.
And you can tell I'm really into stories by
Right.
the acronym of my framework. And within the 7 steps, this is really, I have seen like, this is how I get my clients the results that they're really looking for.
Hmm.
In these 7 steps that I've worked with one to one clients in my copy coaching program. And so in either my done for you email sequences or in my copy coaching program where I'm teaching you how to write these open worthy emails, how to write these sequences so you get better conversion. I use the 7-step stories framework to get you more engagement, more clicks, and more people wanting to click in your book a call button or joining your offer or program. So usually within 90 days, my clients start seeing results. They're starting to see more engagement. A lot of my clients either are writing inconsistently
Hmm.
and so they start writing consistently or they're writing consistently and get good open rates. But it's like, it really is like, I'm talking to a brick wall here. No one's
That's how I
clicking.
feel.
No one's,
That's how I feel. I have super strong open rates, but like the engagement is just like, am I talking into the void here?
yes, talking into the void is what my clients feel like, they have, like, 50, 60, 80% open rate,
Yeah,
like, 0, 0% click rate.
a little bit higher than 0% click rate, but it's not the engagement that I would like to have for sure.
Yeah, and so what they start seeing by, like, 90 days is they're seeing more engagement, they're seeing more responses. A recent story from my client who just completed my copy program. She wrote a client story email last year before we worked together, like a year ago. And she was so excited because she's a parent coach. This is her first
Okay.
client who was willing to do a video testimonial for her, which is a big deal for parents because they feel very vulnerable talking about
Right.
these
Sure.
stories with their children. And so she was so excited to share this video testimonial. She wrote this email and she said, "No one clicked. No one went."
Aw.
She was just she was just shocked.
Right.
And it's such and that she has such great testimonies. She gets such great transformations from it. And so she's just like, why no one click? And so through the copy program, she went back to that email near the end of the 90 days. And because we were talking about client story emails,
Right.
and I told her to send me that email. And I looked at it, I gave her copy feedback. She made the adjustments to it.
Mm-hmm.
She sent it out again and she got about the same open rate. I think it was
Right.
around 60-70%. She has very high open rates, and she got 7% click rate this time
Nice.
versus 0% the first
Right.
time.
That's awesome.
And and that's where I love celebrating because it's like that's the work that they put in to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to tell stories better and then how to write with conversion copywriting that feels
Yeah.
good. It's
Yeah.
ethical, it's not like manipulative, it's not pushy, and it's using their authentic voice and they get more clicks, they get more
Right.
engagement, they get people who are wanting to hear and it's the same client story
Right.
from the year
Just
before.
written differently.
It's just written differently so that
Right.
people want to then click.
I love that. I love that. So tell us before we close, where can people find you?
So I'm most active on LinkedIn. So you can find me
Okay.
there, Joanne Homestead or Joanne Homestead Copywriter, but I'm the only Joanne Homestead
Okay.
on LinkedIn. So come connect with me there. I'm actively putting content out there. Also, you can go to my website, deskplantcreatives.com.
Okay.
And there you can learn more about me. And then again, is my email community, Flourish. Please come join me there. I share stories of all flavors and I give copywriting, email strategy, and email sequence tips for you there.
Awesome.
And you can join there through my website. You'll
Okay.
see a pop up or the embed form. I have a free email storytelling guide that is a great reference guide. It gives you through 7 types of hooks
Okay.
and then 15 plus segues. So you
Okay.
can just plug and play that in. So you're going from writing the story to talking about your content, your marketing content. Like what's the segue? You just pick one, put it in, and you don't have to think about it. Like, how am I going
I
to
love that. I'm going to go right after our call and go sign up for your email list and get that freebie. That
Yeah,
sounds amazing.
yeah. So definitely once you get the guide, you can opt in to join my email community there.
That's awesome. So thank you so much, Joanne. This has been amazing. Like, oh my God, I cannot wait for this episode to come out and share this with everyone, which will be about, well, obviously it's live now for people that are listening. But anyway, I just appreciate all your expertise.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. I had such a
Okay.
fun time talking to you, and I really appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for listening in.
Okay. Thank you.